A buffet is a bet. You against a kitchen, and the kitchen closed the book on that bet before you walked in. Before you picked up a plate, before you saw a single thing you might want to eat. The first move was made months ago by somebody with a floor plan, deciding which tray you would meet first. That is not convenience. That is the house edge. Start with what the house is actually playing for because it is smaller than you would guess. A typical buffet charges around $20. Out of that $20, it keeps about $1. That is the entire business. A 5% margin in a room whose central promise is that you may eat without limit. A restaurant that hands you a menu can price every plate to protect that margin. A buffet gives up that control at the door. Here is the ledger that floor plan is built on. A serving of fully prepped potatoes costs the kitchen about 30 cents. A serving of steak costs $2.25. Same room, same customer, same flat price, and one of those items costs 7.5 times the other. Food runs about a third of your ticket, so your $20 buys roughly $6.50 of actual food. Spend that on potatoes and it comes to 21 servings. Spend it on steak and you are finished before the third. So the buffet does the one thing still available to it. It cannot control how much you take. It can control the order you meet the food in. Walk into any buffet in the country and the sequence is the same. Bread, salad, potatoes, pasta, rice, cheap, heavy, filling. The carving station, the steak, the shrimp, the crab legs, sits at the far end of the line, or around a corner, or on the other side of the dessert island. The industry has a phrase for what goes at the front. High satiety, low cost, which translated out of the trade means filling and cheap. And there's a famous pair of numbers underneath all of this. A study of a breakfast buffet found that more than 75% of diners took food from the very first tray they came to, and that the first 3 trays accounted for 66% of everything they ate. 2/3 of your meal, decided in the first 6 feet of the line. Except, look at where that pair of numbers actually comes from. It comes from one conference breakfast. One morning, one hotel, 124 attendees, most of them human resources managers. And it was published by Brian Wansink, the Cornell food researcher whose lab was later found to have committed academic misconduct, who resigned in 2018, and who has had more than a dozen papers withdrawn by their journals. That specific paper still stands. The rest of his work does not, so the most quoted statistic in the buffet business rests on one breakfast. And here is why it changes nothing. The buffet industry never needed a study to work out where to put the potatoes. It had the invoice, 30 cents against $2.25. You do not have to prove that people fill up on the first thing they see in order to know which thing ought to be first. The ledger answered that on its own, the same way in every dining room in America. Once you know the line is deliberate, the rest of the room stops looking accidental. The plates are small, not slightly small, deliberately stepped down from a standard 12-inch dinner plate to 10.5. That missing 1.5 inches of porcelain quietly removes an ounce or 2 of protein from every single trip and saves the house $2 to $4 a head. Mark that down. The serving spoons are sorted by price. Big spoons in the pasta and the potatoes. Small spoons at the carving station. The lighting is aimed, bright and flattering over the cheap trays, dim and tired over the roast beef. And the walkway narrows as you approach the meat, so fewer people can stand there at once. And then there is the drink. A soft drink costs the restaurant about 12 cents to pour. It sells for $2. That is a markup of roughly 1,500%, which makes the soda fountain the most profitable object in the building. It is also at most buffets not included. Now the part people get backwards. They assume the buffet's enemy is the big eater. It is not. Somewhere in that room is a man who came to win. He goes back 5 times. He goes straight to the carving station every time. And by the time he leaves, he has cost the house $8.50 more than he paid. He is real. He is about 1 in 20 diners. And the buffet is glad he came because he tells everybody. He is not a loss. He is the advertising. The other 19 people, the roll, the salad, a plate of pasta, One modest piece of chicken? Those 19 are the business. Light eaters quietly pay for heavy ones. The buffet does not need to beat you. It needs the room to average out, and a room always averages out. And there is one more line in the ledger. The one that actually built the industry. Labor. In a normal restaurant, one cook serves about 25 customers an hour. A buffet cook, making one enormous tray of the same thing, preps for 200. The buffet was never really selling food. It was selling throughput. One meal cooked once at 8 times the efficiency, and then carried to the table by the customer for free. All of which makes the ending strange. Because buffets are dying. The number of buffet restaurants in America has fallen 26% since 1998, while the total number of restaurants grew 22%. Old Country Buffet, Hometown Buffet, Ryan's. Their parent company went through bankruptcy and hundreds of dining rooms went dark. The machine that measured the average so carefully turned out to be fragile in exactly one place. It only works when the room is full. Every tactic in the building, of the starch at the front, the shrunken plate, the small spoon, is a rounding error unless there is a crowd to spread it across. Half a room and the same trays that made the model work become the thing that sinks it, because all that food was cooked for people who did not come. So the next time you walk in and turn hard toward the carving station, past the bread, past the potatoes, feeling clever about it, understand what you are actually doing. You are not beating the buffet. You are being counted. It never had a bet with you. It had a bet with the room, and the room is an average, and the average on the day somebody drew that floor plan was already you. That's the face value. The ledger says otherwise. If you want another building designed from the studs up around one impossible price, the $4.99 chicken at Costco is on this channel. That one is stranger than this.